Spaceport Alpha's laughter. Spaceport Alpha clawed at the darkness, a metallic lacework strung with strobing beacons. Eva nudged the rusty bucket toward its designated slot, the old ship complaining with a chorus of creaks and groans at each course correction. "Sounds like she's got space arthritis," Vega remarked from her console. "She'll hum like a hummingbird after Bolt works his magic," Eva countered, though doubt gnawed at her. The bucket was a mosaic of scavenged components and patched-over breaches, a testament to their shoestring budget and Bolt's unconventional approach to engineering. Nearing the berth, Eva spotted them, the pristine, polished hulls of the Star Driller and the Cosmic Claw, corporate titans that made their ship look like a forgotten toy. Their exteriors gleamed, sporting logos, a vicious drill's maw and a grasping, otherworldly talon, blazing in neon brilliance. The rusty bucket, comparatively, appeared to have lost a brawl with an asteroid field. Docking was an adventure. The bucket's thrusters choked and spat, showering sparks across the void. Eva wrestled with the recalcitrant controls, finally achieving lock with a bone-rattling thud. "Smooth," Vega quipped. Bolt, head emerging from a tangle of wires, his goggles perched precariously, announced, "Did we nail it? I almost had the flux capacitor humming. Just needs a little persuasive encouragement." He brandished a wrench menacingly. Eva sighed. "Bolt, later. We've got visitors." A delegation of inspectors, immaculate in their white coveralls, approached the airlock, their faces etched with distaste as they scrutinized the bucket. "Rostova, Captain," the lead inspector, a lean woman with a severe bob, inquired. "That's me," Eva replied, stepping forward. "This vessel is assigned to secondary processing and waste reclamation. Are you aware of your duties?" "Perfectly," Eva replied, masking her irritation. They knew their job. It was the bucket that was under scrutiny. The inspection was rigorous, bordering on intrusive. They prodded and scanned, their devices whining as they searched for violations and illicit cargo. Bolt, unable to contain himself, bombarded them with technical inquiries, much to Vega's annoyance. "Excuse me, what superconducting alloy are you using in that sensor array? Niobium titanium or something less conventional? And the shielding, Faraday cage-based, or perhaps a more innovative approach?" The inspector simply stared, before snapping, "Just stay out of the way." Meanwhile, the crews of the Star Driller and Cosmic Claw had gathered to observe. Derisive laughter echoed across the bay, ricocheting off their pristine hulls. "Is that a flying junkyard?" "They let that thing dock here," boomed a voice. Commander Rex Valiant, captain of the Star Driller, a man whose ego rivaled the size of his vessel. Tall and built like a brick house, his jawline could probably split rocks. "Maybe they're here to haul away Spaceport Alpha's trash," chimed in the captain of the Cosmic Claw, her features sharp, her gaze glittering with icy amusement. Eva's fists clenched, she ignored them, though the blatant scorn stung. Vega stood beside her, arms crossed, a mask of icy fury on her face. "Ignore these vultures, Cap," she rumbled. "They just want a rise." "Easier advised than done," Eva muttered. Valiant swaggered closer, his crew fawning behind him. He halted a few feet from Eva, his eye sweeping over the rusty bucket with open contempt. "So, Rostova," he drawled, his voice laced with derision. "Heard you and your team were dredging the Kepler belt. Unearthing any treasures?" Eva met his gaze, refusing to yield. "We find what we need." Valiant chuckled, a harsh, grating sound. "I'm sure you do. But let's be real, Rostova. You're outmatched here. This is a corporate venture. We're talking serious resources, substantial profits. Not some bottom-feeding salvage operation. We're more than capable of handling the work," Eva countered. "Capable? Perhaps. But efficient? Do you have the equipment? Doubtful. Look at your ship. It's practically a flying relic, held together by dreams and duct tape." The laughter swelled from the other crews. A hot flush crawled up Eva's neck. "We may not have your toys, Valiant," she said, her voice tight with control. But we have something you lack, resourcefulness. Valiant threw back his head, his laughter echoing. Resourcefulness? Is that what you're calling it? I call it desperation. You're just scavengers, picking at our scraps. He turned to his crew, arms spread wide. Tell me, people, do we need these amateurs clogging our workspace? Consuming our resources? No, roared his crew in unison. Valiant turned back to Eva, a self-satisfied smirk playing on his lips. I think the message is clear, Rostova. You're surplus to requirements. Eva stood her ground, her eyes blazing. We have every right to be here, Valiant. We were assigned this contract, the same as you. And I will ensure you regret the moment you signed it, Valiant spat. This isn't the Kepler belt, Rostova. This is my domain. And I don't tolerate competition. He gestured, and his crew surged forward, their expressions menacing. Vega moved, her hand hovering near the stun pistol at her belt. I really wouldn't, she warned, her voice a low growl. The tension in the bay was palpable. Eva knew that engaging would worsen their situation, but she would not back down. Abruptly, a voice sliced through the animosity. Attention, all personnel. Docking Bay Alpha is now a designated restricted zone. Clear the area immediately. It was the spaceport security officer, his voice crackling across the intercom. Valiant scowled. Looks like our little chat is over, Rostova. But don't think this is over. We'll meet again. He turned and strutted away, his sycophants in tow. The laughter ebbed as the docking bay slowly emptied. Eva exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Well, that was welcoming. Vega spat on the deck. Don't sweat him, Capital. He's just a blowhard. We'll prove him wrong. Bolt, completely oblivious to the confrontation, was still engrossed in his wires. I think I've almost got it. Just rerouting the power through the secondary conduit and... Eureka! Eva shook her head, a faint smile gracing her lips. Come on, you two. Let's get this ship ready. We have a job to do. As they turned, Eva couldn't shake the feeling that Valiant's threat was far from empty. He would make their lives hell, and they needed to be ready. The jeering of Spaceport Alpha still hung in the air, a stark reminder of how much they had to prove. Looking at her crew, at Vega's steadfast loyalty and Bolt's infectious enthusiasm, she knew they were up to it. They were the rusty bucket, and they would not be intimidated. They would show them all what they were capable of. Destination, Xylo. Eva Rostova crossed the bridge of the rusty bucket, her boots striking the pitted deck in sharp reports. The ship's ancient heart thrummed around her, a mechanical lullaby she knew by rote. Bolt Rivet was already a whirlwind of limbs and muttered equations at the navigation station, his fingers tap-dancing across the holographic display, lost in a maze of theoretical physics. Vega Stone, framed by the doorway, leaned with practiced nonchalance, a cigarette glued to her lip, watching Spaceport Alpha recede into the star-dusted abyss. All right, team, Eva declared, clapping once. Let's get to it. Bolt swiveled, goggles magnifying his eager eyes. Captain. Course charted to Xylo. Optimal burn, minimal expenditure, with a slight deviation past Kepler 186f for purely scientific observation. One of Eva's eyebrows arched skyward. Kepler 186f? Bolt, we're on a tight clock. I doubt the consortium rewards unscheduled planetary sightseeing. But Captain! Bolt protested, his voice scaling the octaves. A potentially habitable exoplanet. Think of the implications. New extremophiles, atmospheric anomalies, maybe even cosmic annelids. Vega's lips curled in a cynical smirk, a quick flick of her wrist sending ash spiraling to the deck. Cosmic annelids? Lay off the holovids, Bolt. I'm merely advocating a broader perspective. Bolt insisted, tweaking a dial with manic energy. Eva sighed. Bolt, a narrow focus is what keeps us solvent. Xylo. Direct route. No worms. Got it. Bolt's shoulders slumped imperceptibly. Understood, Captain. Eva pivoted to Vega. Vega, a damage assessment on the bucket's current level of functionality. Vega inhaled deeply, exhaling a cloud that momentarily obscured her features. She's breathing, just. Engines are asthmatic, life support is optimistic, and I wouldn't trust the gravity plating to handle a sneeze at 2 Gs. On the bright side, the coffee machine still works. That's the attitude, Eva said, forcing a smile. Right, Xylo. I want everyone clear on what we're walking into. She tapped a command, and a jagged, holographic asteroid materialized above the console. Barren and scarred, it hung like a cosmic cinder, devoid of atmosphere. Asteroid Xylo, Eva began, is saturated with Xylo's crystals. Critical for constructing advanced shielding, which, as you know, we desperately need back on Earth to fend off. Her words trailed off, a shadow passing over her face. The KRYLL, the ravenous insectoid horde that had consumed entire systems, were a looming specter. The consortium wants these crystals, and they want them yesterday. Hence this contract, awarded despite certain doubts, Eva added with a dry edge. Commander Valiant and his pristine Starhawk will be there. Expect intimidation, sabotage, the full Valiant treatment. We can't let him win. This isn't just about credits, it's about getting those crystals home. It's about protecting everyone depending on us. Bolt's earlier exuberance evaporated, replaced by somber resolve. Even Vega seemed affected, her usual cynicism momentarily softened. Here's the play, Eva said, leaning towards the projection. Xylo is a labyrinth of caves and fractures, perfect for concealing rich veins of Xylos. Our scanners will pinpoint the densest concentrations, but caution is paramount. The asteroid is geologically volatile, prone to tremors, and likely full of other surprises. Bolt, recalibrate the mining drones for Xylos. Vega, security detail. Watch for uninvited company. And you, Captain? Bolt inquired. I'll be playing conductor from here, keeping us on track and preventing any unscheduled detonations, Eva replied, a ghost of a smile flickering across her lips. Questions? Bolt's hand shot up. Will there be time to gather regolith samples for compositional analysis? Vega groaned audibly. Seriously? Eva chuckled. We'll see, Bolt. We'll see. Now, let's move. Xylo awaits. The subsequent hours dissolved into a frenzy of activity. Bolt vanished into the ship's bowels, his workshop echoing with the whine of circuitry and the clang of recalibrated machinery. Vega scrutinized the mining drones with meticulous care, testing laser tolerances and cargo capacities, each movement honed by years of experience. Eva remained glued to the bridge, monitoring systems and coordinating clearances with Spaceport Alpha. As the rusty bucket hurtled towards the jump point, a jolt of anticipation coursed through Eva. This was it. The crux. They were launching a mission poised to shape Earth's future, all from a ship held together by ingenuity and luck. Ready for jump, Captain, Bolt's voice crackled over the comms. Engage, Eva commanded, her voice unwavering despite the knot in her stomach. With a shudder and a protesting groan, the rusty bucket plunged into hyperspace. Stars dissolved into streaks of incandescent paint as the ship pierced the void. Eva gripped her armrests, eyes fixed on the swirling tunnel ahead. Approaching Xylo in 5 minutes, Bolt announced. Prepare for emergence. Eva inhaled deeply, bracing for the inevitable confrontation. She knew Valiant would be poised, ready to exploit any weakness. But she also possessed an unwavering crew, a ship that had defied the odds countless times, and a fierce determination to succeed, whatever the cost. All right, people, she said, her voice ringing with conviction. Let's show them what this bucket can do. As the ship ripped back into real space, Xylo filled the viewport, a craggy, forbidding monolith of rock and shadow. The airlock hissed, and Vega entered the bridge, her expression hard. Valiant ship is in orbit, she stated. Sensors sweeping the surface. Eva nodded grimly. As expected. Bolt, prep the drones for deployment. Vega, ready to repel borders. Remember, we're not here to socialize. We're here for Xylos, and we aren't leaving until we have it. Whispers of Xylos riches. The rusty bucket shuddered as its engines thrummed, the vibrations a constant undercurrent beneath Eva's boots. Beyond the viewport, the nebula spun, a kaleidoscope of cosmic dust and light. Xylo. The very syllable carried the weight of longing and a sliver of optimism. Faint echoes, imagined or real, seemed to ride the solar winds, hinting at the treasure buried within the asteroid's craggy shell. Bolt, another scan, she instructed, her gaze fixed on the alien panorama. Let's see if we can isolate those geological hotspots. Bolt's voice, scratchy through the comms, confirmed, Roger that, Captain. Rerunning analysis. Still battling serious interference, Xylo's magnetic field is proving exceptionally disruptive. Eva exhaled heavily. Almost everything about this expedition felt like a grind. Yet, the Xylo's crystals validated the hardships. Terra survival hinged upon them. She briefly closed her eyes, an old memory flickering to life, a data-downloaded glimpse from years ago. Xylo, decades prior to its rise as a strategic asset, appeared as just another space rock, a silent drifter in the void. The image dissolved, replaced by a holographic scientist, his features lit by the glow of intricate equations. The unique lattice structure of Xylos offers energy focusing on a scale hitherto unseen. Properly harnessed, even a small crystal can dramatically amplify energy output. The precise figures are still being refined, but the initial findings are compelling. Imagine a shield impervious to KRYLL assault. A weapon capable of repelling their relentless tides. The scientists' pronouncements dissolved into a news anchor's grim report, broadcast from a war-ravaged Earth. KRYLL forces persist in their relentless advance, encroaching further into the northern continent. Resource depletion has reached critical levels. Xylo's crystals represent our last hope, yet mining activities on Xylo are severely curtailed due to the transmission fractured, replaced by static. In Eva's mind, whispers swelled into a deafening chorus. Expectation. Necessity. The burden of a doomed world pressed down on her shoulders, on the rusty bucket's groaning frame. Skipper. Vega's tone broke through the flood of memory. Eva snapped back to the present, refocusing on the vibrant nebula. What is it, Vega? I was revisiting the old mining logs. The ones predating the catastrophe on Xylo. Vega paused, the unspoken history hanging heavy in the air. There are tales, Captain. Rumors. Stories passed around by the miners. Eva turned, intrigued. Vega, the epitome of stoicism, rarely indulged in fanciful notions. Tales? About what, specifically? About the crystals themselves. Regarding Xylo's spirit, as they phrased it. They believed the crystals possessed something beyond mere conductivity. A form of awareness. That they reacted to feelings, to designs. Vega's expression remained unreadable. Eva arched an eyebrow. Awareness? You're not buying into that, are you? Vega shrugged. I've witnessed things out here that defy easy explanation. Too many things. And those miners, they weren't unstable. They were simply intimately familiar with the asteroid. Their existence was defined by digging in darkness, surrounded by those crystals. They felt something. And what did they sense? Eva inquired, a prickle of uneasiness creeping in. They felt observed. They felt judged. The narrative was that Xylo only surrendered its riches to the deserving. To those possessing unblemished aims. Eva scoffed. Unblemished aims? In the hyper-competitive corporate mining arena? That's rich, Vega. Precisely, Vega countered, his eyes unwavering. That explains their failure. All of them. The mining operations crumbled for reasons beyond KRYLL aggression. Something else. Something Xylo rejected. Eva processed this. Commercial avarice pitted against individual honor. The concept resonated within her. The mission transcended simply saving Earth, it extended to the ethics behind the means. Bolt, situation report. Eva demanded, needing a distraction from Vega's unsettling pronouncements. Scanning still in progress, Chief. I am detecting a concentrated energy signature deep within the asteroid's core. Faint, yet unmistakable. Precise coordinates. Bolt rattled off a string of numbers. Eva input them into the navigation system. That's it. That's our destination. Ready for approach, Bolt. Vega, prep your gear. We're going planetside. As the rusty bucket nosed toward Xylo, Eva couldn't dismiss Vega's words. Unblemished aims. Was she deserving? Was the mission itself? Not only did the fate of Earth hang precariously, but something more ephemeral, more profound, also rested in the balance, the esteem of a celestial body. The descent proved tumultuous. Xylo's gravity seized the rusty bucket, threatening to hurl it into an unrecoverable spin. Bolt wrestled with the controls, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Atmospheric density lower than forecast, Captain. And the turbulence is unnatural, to say the least. Eva gripped her chair tightly, steeling herself for the impact. Just get us on the ground in one piece, Bolt. The rusty bucket impacted Xylo's surface with a bone-jarring crash. Alarms shrieked, bathing the cockpit in crimson light. Damage assessment. Eva barked. Minor hull compromise in Sector 4. Life support is nominal. Engines are unresponsive. Bolt reported, his voice tight with concern. Unresponsive? Can you repair them? Working on it, Skipper. But this will take considerable time. Eva spat out an expletive. Stranded on Xylo, aboard a crippled vessel, with the looming threat of the KRYLL. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Vega, let's move, she directed, seizing her pulse rifle. We need to secure the perimeter and procure those crystals. And conceivably, just conceivably, demonstrate our worth. They emerged from the rusty bucket into Xylo's alien domain. The air, frigid and thin, nipped at any exposed skin. The terrain consisted of a jagged expanse of obsidian rock, streaked with faint, crystalline veins. Above, the swirling nebula infused the sky with hues of amethyst and gold. It possessed a haunting beauty, both alluring and frightening. Moving away from the ship, Eva caught a flicker from the corner of her eye. A subtle shift. A shadow gliding among the rocks. She raised her rifle, adrenaline surging. Vega, I suspect we have company. Vega scanned their surroundings, his eyes narrowed to slits. I don't observe anything, Captain. I saw something. A shadow. Moving at speed. They advanced cautiously, weapons primed, the silence broken only by the crunch of their boots on the stony ground and the moan of wind through the canyons. Suddenly, a piercing shriek cleaved the air. It was close. Too close. KRYLL. Vega yelled, shoving Eva behind a massive rock formation. Take cover. A squadron of the insectoid predators plummeted from the sky, their razor claws reflecting the faint light. They were swift, ruthless, and driven by hunger. The conflict for Xylo had commenced. Eva returned fire, her pulse rifle discharging bolts of energy. KRYLL collapsed, their bodies dissolving into plumes of black ash. But their numbers were overwhelming. They swarmed, relentlessly closing in. We must get back to the ship. Vega shouted, unleashing a barrage of fire. The engines are down. Eva yelled back. We're on our own. They fought, step by step, back towards the rusty bucket, their backs against the wall. The KRYLL maintained the pressure, forcing them deeper into the rocky maze. Reaching a narrow canyon, Eva's heart sank. Dominating the space was a vast, crystalline structure, radiating an otherworldly glow. It was beautiful, captivating yet filled with a sense of dread. A Xylos crystal. A truly massive one. And guarded by KRYLL. "This is it," Eva whispered, barely audible. "This is what they are protecting. What they desire." She looked at Vega, his face etched with grim determination. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and isolated on a hostile world. Nevertheless, they had a mission. "We are going in," she declared, her gaze locked on the crystal. "We are retrieving that crystal. For Earth." That star driller blocks the way. Xylo filled the rusty bucket's forward screen, a battered sphere of rust-tinged ochre and muted greys. Eva fine-tuned the approach, her focus absolute. "Everyone, stay sharp." KRYLL hotspots could be anywhere. Vega Stone, lounging by the viewport, scoffed. "I'm more concerned with corporate jackals than space bugs, Captain. Xylo's prime veins have been marked territory for years." Eva's sigh was heavy. Vega was right. Xylo's crystals, invaluable due to the KRYLL threat, drew predators. "Just be vigilant, Vega. We need those crystals, quickly." The tension in the cramped cockpit vibrated like a plucked string, amplified by the engine's drone. As they neared the designated zone, a metallic flicker materialized on the horizon, solidifying into the predatory lines of a mining ship, that star driller. "Speak of the devil," Vega drawled, flicking ash into a battered container. Eva cursed silently. The star driller was a titan, dwarfing the rusty bucket fivefold. Its hull, gleaming chrome, sprouted laser batteries and mining apparatus far surpassing their own. The comm crackled to life as the vessel moved to block their path. A voice, saccharine smooth and dripping with arrogance, sliced through the static. "Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Rex Valiant of the Star Driller. You are trespassing in restricted space. State your intentions." Eva inhaled deeply, striving for composure. "Commander Valiant, Captain Eva Rostova of the Rusty Bucket. We're here to extract Xylo's crystals, per standard regulations." A derisive chuckle echoed. "Regulations? How quaint. Allow me to clarify, Rostova. This sector is designated Novatech Industries priority. Your contraption is unwelcome." Eva's jaw tightened. Novatech. Of course. They were infamous for their ruthless ambition and disregard for smaller outfits. "Commander, we possess a legitimate claim. We were here first." "First?" An amusing delusion, Valiant's tone oozed condescension. "Novatech is always first. I suggest you turn that rust heap around and find another rock to scavenge. Unless you fancy testing your luck against the Star Driller's firepower." Eva glanced at Vega, who shrugged, resigned. The rusty bucket, with its scarred hull and archaic weaponry, stood no chance against Novatech's flagship. But retreat wasn't an option. "Commander Valiant," she said, her voice now edged with steel. "Earth faces a KRYLL onslaught. We require those crystals to power planetary defenses. This transcends profit, it's about survival." Valiant's scoff was dismissive. "Survival? Sentimental drivel. The KRYLL are a minor inconvenience, manageable with proper investments. My priority lies with maximizing shareholder value." Eva's blood ran cold. The man was a monster cloaked in corporate veneer. "So, you would do Earth for profit margins?" "Let's just say I favor a strategic approach to resource allocation," Valiant replied, slick as oil. "Now, I offer this only once. Withdraw. Or suffer the consequences." He punctuated the ultimatum with a volley from the Star Driller's lasers, energy blast searing past the rusty bucket's hull. The ship bucked violently, klaxon screaming. "Show off," Vega muttered, bracing himself. Eva wrestled with the controls, thoughts racing. Direct confrontation was suicide. Yet, abandonment was unthinkable. Earth depended on them. An audacious, perilous idea began to crystallize in her mind. A long shot, their only chance. Commander Valiant, she said, her voice deceptively level. I comprehend your position. And I have a proposition. Valiant hesitated, intrigued. A proposition? I am listening. We aren't competing, Eva said, choosing her words carefully. We're a small-time crew, scratching for survival. But we possess a unique skill set. We're adept at locating undiscovered crystal veins, ones that slip beneath the radar of larger operations. Allow us to work in concert, and we can augment your overall yield. Consider us, scouts. Silence stretched on the other end of the comm. Eva could almost hear the gears whirring in Valiant's mind, calculating potential gains against the risk of trusting her. And your reward, he finally asked, suspicion lacing his words. A percentage of the returns, Eva replied, sufficient to maintain our vessel and feed our crew. That is all we ask. Another pause. Eva held her breath. The fate of her crew, perhaps even Earth, hung suspended. Finally, Valiant spoke. Very well, Rostova. You may remain in this sector. But do not presume I trust you. You will be under constant monitoring. One misstep, and I will vaporize that glorified tin can. Understood, Commander, Eva said, forcing a smile. We will not disappoint you. As the comm cut, Vega turned to Eva, eyes narrowed. You didn't swallow that scout swill, did you? Eva shook her head, wryly. Hardly, Vega. But it bought us time. And time is all we require. She steered the rusty bucket away from the star driller, a plan already taking shape. She had no intention of aiding Valiant. She was determined to liberate the crystals from beneath his very nose. As they charted a course for a less promising section of the asteroid, Vega spoke again. So, what's the play, Captain? Because I can already sense that whatever you're concocting is completely bonkers. Eva grinned, defiance burning in her eyes. Bonkers? Perhaps. But it's our only option. We exploit their surveillance to our advantage. They anticipate surface mining. They won't anticipate us burrowing deep. We're going to drill into Xylo's core and discover the motherlode. Vega's eyebrow climbed. You honestly think that's viable? What if we disturb something nasty down there? Eva's smile flickered. She recalled the whispers, the rumors of Xylo's sentience. Yet, she couldn't succumb to fear. We'll contend with whatever we unearth, Vega. We always do. Now, let's pinpoint a suitable entry point for our dig. The rusty bucket shuddered as it settled onto a relatively even patch of rock. The star driller's shadow draped over them, a perpetual reminder of their peril. Eva knew Valiant was watching, eager for them to err. But she was resolved to shatter his expectations. They were the underdogs, perpetually underestimated. And they were on the verge of unleashing a surprise no one saw coming, even if it meant facing the wrath of a living asteroid. Galactic mining rights. Galactic mining rights, Eva announced, her voice amplified by the comms, a disembodied pronouncement echoing between the rusty bucket and the star driller's polished hull. On the bridge, she stood firm, the holographic projection of Xylo shimmering before her. Commander Valiant, with all respect, this sector remains unaligned. No exclusive claim is registered with the consortium. Your assertion of ownership is premature. Valiant's contemptuous visage dominated the screen. Premature? Rostova, you're treading a thin line. Novatech has sunk fortunes into this venture. We possess the resources, the personnel, and the legal arsenal to swat you aside like an insect. Legal arsenal? Produce the filings, Commander, Eva countered, her gaze unwavering. She knew it was posturing. Novatech preferred bullying to bureaucracy. Until then, the Galactic Mining Charter, Article 3, Section 7, Subsection C, if I recall correctly, grants any independent operator the right to extract resources from unclaimed sectors. Correct, Vega. Vega, sprawled as usual near the navigation station, fingers dancing across the controls, offered a casual confirmation. Bang on, Captain. Subsection C codifies asteroid mining rights in unaligned space. Though, I find subsection D, concerning ethical considerations regarding potential sentience, far more intriguing. Valiant's complexion soured. Sentient life forms? Rostova, are you recycling that preposterous nonsense? It's just rock and xylo crystals down there. Then you won't object to us proceeding with our nonsense recyclings and initiating our own independent survey, Eva retorted, a sharp edge entering her tone. She severed the connection, banishing Valiant's sputtering face from the screen. A palpable tension thrummed through the bridge. Bolt, typically buzzing with kinetic energy, stood remarkably still, fingers intertwined, fixated on the star driller's looming image. He won't yield, will he? Fat chance, Vega said, finally swiveling in her chair. Valiant's inflated ego overshadows even Xylo's mineral wealth. Being publicly contradicted, especially by a scrap heap like us? Unforgivable. She unfolded her limbs, stretching languidly. So, what's the play, Captain? Do we play possum and hope he overlooks us, or do we demonstrate what this old girl can truly do? Eva moved to the viewport, studying the star driller, a gargantuan vessel that made the rusty bucket look like a dinghy. It represented corporate avarice, relentless exploitation. And for the first time in years, Eva felt a potent rush of indignation. Earth needed those crystals. Her crew deserved a chance. She wouldn't let Valiant steal that from them. We're going to extract those crystals, Vega, she declared, pivoting to face her crew. And we're going to do it right under his arrogant nose. A predatory grin widened on Vega's face. Now we're talking. Need a tactical breakdown? First, direct conflict is suicide. We're outgunned and undermanned. We need finesse, not brute force. Second, leverage his hubris. He considers us insignificant, so let's weaponize that perception. Third, Xylo itself is our most valuable asset. We possess superior knowledge of its structure. Let's translate that knowledge into victory. Specifically, Eva pressed. He'll be scrutinizing the surface, anticipating conventional mining. We need to go deep. Core mining. Risky, admittedly, but it's the only viable method for extracting significant Xylos without immediate detection. Furthermore, Vega added, a mischievous spark in her eyes, it might resolve the debate about those sentient life forms. Eva nodded. Bolt, can you reconfigure the mining drill for deep core extraction? Bolt snapped to attention, eyes widening. Deep core? That's intensely volatile. The energy flux alone, I understand the risks, Bolt, Eva said, her voice unwavering. But we have no alternative. Can you manage it? Bolt hesitated briefly, then a slow grin spread across his features. Absolutely. A beautiful, terrifying challenge. I'll need to divert power from the shield matrix, reinforce the drill head with a gravitic stabilizer, and... oh, this will be exquisite. He practically vibrated with excitement, already lunging for the engineering console. And Vega, Eva said, turning back to her first mate, I need a comprehensive diagnostic of our stealth arrays. Maximum concealment. Already on it, Captain, Vega replied, her fingers a blur across the console. I'm also boosting the sensor dampeners. It won't completely blind Novatech scanners, but it'll generate sufficient interference to make us resemble, well, a slightly oversized asteroid. Eva inhaled deeply, the gravity of the situation pressing down on her. This was it. A critical gamble that could either save Earth or condemn them all. However, observing the resolute determination etched on her crew's faces, she knew they were prepared. They were the rusty bucket, and they never retreated from a challenge. All right, people, she declared, her voice ringing with newfound confidence. Let's demonstrate to Commander Valiant what a scrap heap he can achieve. The rusty bucket jolted to life, systems humming, lights flickering erratically as power was rerouted. In engineering, Bolt wrestled with the recalibration of the mining drill, showers of sparks erupting from the console as he pushed the ship's systems past their designed limits. he muttered to himself, a torrent of technical jargon interwoven with manic exclamations. Flux capacitor, reversed polarity, oh dear, that's suboptimal, almost there, nearly. Yes. On the bridge, Vega monitored the sensor displays, her brow furrowed in concentration. He's still observing us, Captain. But the jammers are functioning. We're merely a negligible anomaly on his radar. For the moment. Eva gripped the controls, her gaze riveted on Xylo. It was a stunning, perilous world, brimming with enigmas and untapped potential. She was poised to penetrate its core, risking everything for a chance to salvage her home. Prepare for descent, she commanded, her voice steady and resolute. Engage stealth mode. And Bolt, endeavor not to reduce us all to cosmic dust. The rusty bucket shuddered violently as it pierced Xylo's fragile atmosphere, the hull plating groaning under the immense strain. The ship dissolved into the shadows, enshrouded in a veil of stealth technology, transforming into a phantom in the vastness of space. As they plunged deeper, Eva couldn't suppress the sensation that they were being scrutinized. Not by Valiant, but by something else. Something ancient and potent, dormant in the depths of Xylo. The cosmic Claude enters the fray. Novatex's Star Driller, a gargantuan machine, gnawed at the asteroid's crust with a screech of tortured metal. Xylo's tipped drills bit into the rock with unnerving ease. Abruptly, shadow engulfed the rusty bucket, a sharp-edged silhouette blotting out the dim stars. Vessel incoming. Novatech make, Cosmic Claw, class, Vega Stone announced from sensors, her voice strained. And it's armed to vaporize us. Eva Rostova marched onto the bridge, her jaw tight. The Cosmic Claw. Valiant wasn't simply staking his claim, he was issuing a threat. The warship was a brutal, gunmetal wedge, bristling with laser emplacements, making the rusty bucket appear a mere space flea. Shields up, max power to engines, Eva commanded, her voice steady despite the unease churning within. Let's see what tricks Valiant intends to pull. The Cosmic Claw dispensed with pleasantries. A searing blue lance shot out, missing the rusty bucket, but close enough. The beam cleaved a nearby asteroid fragment, atomizing it into a brief corona of light. Arrogant jerk, Vega spat. Message from the Cosmic Claw, Captain, Jen, the young comms officer, reported, his fingers dancing across the console. Commander Valiant demands our immediate withdrawal. He visibly gulped. He says, and I quote, before your antiquated vessel becomes permanent debris. Eva's eyes narrowed. Send him our regards. Tell him we admire the light show, but we're here legitimately, exercising our rights under the Galactic Mining Accord. Another blue eruption, this time much closer. The rusty bucket vibrated as its shields absorbed the impact, alarms wailing briefly before Vega rerouted power. He's not negotiating, Captain, Vega stated, her voice tight. He's intent on driving us off. Bolt Rivet, ever optimistic, chimed in from engineering. Perhaps showcasing our spectral analysis? The crystal formations are remarkably pure. Maybe a collaboration. Eva glared at him, her expression enough to freeze lava. Bolt, intimidation is the name of his game. Alliance is the furthest thing from his mind. The Cosmic Claw unleashed a third blast, crippling one of the rusty bucket's maneuvering thrusters. The engine coughed, flames momentarily flaring before damage control engaged. Thruster 5 down. Jen cried. A wave of fury washed over Eva. Valiant wasn't posturing, he was disabling them. The Galactic Mining Accord was meaningless to him, a man accustomed to dominance, regardless of consequence. Evasive maneuvers, Eva ordered, gripping the arms of her command chair. Vega, chart a course through the densest part of the field. Feign retreat, but make him work for it. Vega grinned, a feral spark in her eyes. You want to get down and dirty, Captain? I'm with you. The rusty bucket bucked and swerved, dodging asteroids like a sparrow evading a raptor. The Cosmic Claw, with superior firepower and agility, remained in pursuit, its lasers scything through the surrounding rock. The asteroid field, once a potential treasure trove, was now a lethal labyrinth. They're closing, Captain. Jen's voice trembled. Eva surveyed the tactical display, her thoughts spiraling. They couldn't simply outrun the claw. They had to weaponize their surroundings. Divert all remaining power to the forward deflector shields, she stated. Prepare to execute the Kessel Run Gambit. Vega stared, surprise flickering across her features. The Kessel Run Gambit? Captain, are you certain? That's a madness. Madness with a purpose, Eva replied, a tight smile gracing her lips. Have faith, Vega. I have a hunch. Eva keyed the comms. Commander Valiant, Captain Rostover of the Rusty Bucket here. We appear to have reached a stalemate. I propose a challenge. A race through this field. First to designated coordinates claims the mining rights. What say you? Silence, then Valiant's voice, thick with contempt, crackled through the speakers. A race? Against the Cosmic Claw? Your desperation is showing, Captain. I accept. Prepare for defeat. Eva severed the connection. All right, everyone, strap yourselves in. This will be a wild ride. The Rusty Bucket plunged into the heart of the asteroid field, its forward shield shimmering under extreme stress. Eva guided the ship with practiced skill, threading it through razor-thin gaps and around treacherous formations. The Kessel Run Gambit was legendary, demanding flawless timing and nerves of reinforced steel. It involved using the combined gravitational forces of tightly clustered asteroids to slingshot the ship at breathtaking speeds. It was also suicidal. One miscalculation, and they'd be pulverized. Behind them, the Cosmic Claw followed, its lasers obliterating asteroids in its path. Valiant was assured of victory, blinded by arrogance, underestimating the Rusty Bucket and its crew. As they approached the first asteroid, Eva felt a strange tremor shudder through the ship, a low, deep thrum that resonated within her very bones. She dismissed it as the pervasive stress. Ready to engage the slingshot, Captain, Vega's voice was barely a whisper. Eva inhaled deeply. Engage! She fired the thrusters, sending the Rusty Bucket hurtling towards the looming asteroid. The ship scraped its surface, shields screaming in protest. For a heartbeat, Eva thought they would crash, but then the gravitational pull seized them, flinging the ship forward with explosive force. The Rusty Bucket surged ahead, leaving the Cosmic Claw choking in a cloud of pulverized rock. Eva grinned. Stage 1 complete. But 2 more asteroid maneuvers loomed, each more perilous than the last. As they neared the second asteroid, the humming intensified, growing into a palpable presence, a feeling of unseen eyes watching them. Captain, Bolt Rivet's voice shook with fear. I'm detecting anomalous energy readings emanating from the asteroid. It's organic. Eva frowned. Organic? Impossible. Asteroids were composed of rock and ore, not living matter. Elaborate, Bolt, she demanded. I can't explain it, Captain. It's as if the asteroid is alive. A shiver snaked down Eva's spine. A premonition clawed at her gut. Suddenly, the asteroid shimmered to life, a soft, pulsating light radiating from its core. The humming swelled, engulfing the ship in a deafening roar. Captain, we have to disengage. Vega shrieked. Now! But they were too late. The asteroid was awakening, and the Rusty Bucket was ensnared in its grasp. Bolt's discovery. The Rusty Bucket shuddered violently, its aged hull creaking under the constricting embrace of the asteroid's fleshy tendrils. On the bridge, pandemonium reigned as alarms blared and orders were yelled above the din. Eva, her features taut with determination, fought to control the bucking helm. Engines, full reverse. Vega, locate the epicenter of this biological interference. At her sensor station, Vega's fingers flew across the console, a whirlwind of frantic activity. It's not localized, Captain. The entire asteroid, it's alive. Bioreadings are faint, nearly imperceptible, yet interwoven into the very lithos. A thread of awe, tinged with dread, wove through her voice. And the tendrils, they're drawn to our energy signature. From engineering, Bolt's voice crackled over the comms, strained with apprehension. Captain, power fluctuations are off the charts. The tendrils are leaching our reserves. We're not going to hold out for long. Eva slammed her fist on the console in frustration. Damn it! New tactic. Bolt, reroute all surplus power to the mining lasers. Vega, scan for vulnerabilities in the tendrils, anything we can exploit. We're cutting ourselves loose. Despite his anxiety, Bolt felt a jolt of resolve. He navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the engine room, his pulse hammering in his ears. This was it. He was just an engineer, not some swashbuckling hero, but he had a duty to perform. Power rerouted, Captain, he announced, his tone wavering slightly but holding firm. Mining lasers at full capacity. But? Captain, I detected an anomaly on the xyloscan while rerouting. Anomaly how, Bolt? We're a bit preoccupied with being consumed here, Eva retorted, a sharp edge to her voice. I know, but a reading, an immense concentration of xylos, much deeper inside the asteroid than our initial surveys indicated. Almost like a sealed-off cache, a subterranean cavern or something. Eva paused, her brow furrowing in thought. A hidden xylos cache? It sounded too fantastical to be real. But if it were? Vega, confirm Bolt's findings. Can you penetrate the asteroid's crust and get a visual? Vega worked with renewed intensity, recalibrating the instruments. Initial sweeps had focused on surface deposits, not the depths below. The tendrils squeezed relentlessly, the rusty bucket protesting with tortured groans. I'm picking up something, Captain, Vega announced, her voice hushed with amazement. Bolt's right. A network of caverns riddles the asteroid's core, shielded by a stratum of dense rock. And incredible. The xylos density is astronomical. A vein of pure crystal seems to permeate the entire system. Eva's eyes widened in disbelief. This could rewrite their destiny. If they could reach that cavern system, they could extract enough xylos to fulfill their obligations and potentially secure their financial future. The challenge, of course, was getting there. All right, Eva declared, her voice regaining its unwavering command. Here's the play. We're using the mining lasers to bore a passage through the rock and into that cavern system. It's a long shot, but it's the best hand we've got to play. But Captain, Bolt interjected, his voice laced with trepidation, that will require immense power. And the tendrils? Won't they become hyperstimulated by such an energy spike? Undoubtedly, Eva conceded, her face grim. But we have no alternative. Vega, pinpoint the most expedient route to the xylos cave. Precision is paramount. Vega nodded, her fingers a blur across the console. I've identified a location where the crust is marginally thinner, a potential breach point. It's in proximity to a primary tendril anchor, though. Then that's where we concentrate our efforts, Eva stated, her jaw clenched. Bolt, prime the mining lasers. We're carving our own path. Driven by a cocktail of fear and anticipation, Bolt threw himself into the task. He recalibrated the lasers, focusing their output into a concentrated beam of destructive energy. The vessel vibrated violently as the power surged. He understood the stakes, this desperate gamble to snatch triumph from the jaws of annihilation. But the thought of the hidden xylos load, the potential to elevate their financial status, fueled his resolve. Lasers primed, Captain, Bolt reported, his voice trembling subtly. Awaiting your order to fire. Eva inhaled deeply, her hand poised over the activation trigger. Vega, give me the coordinates. Vega recited a string of numerals, her gaze fixed on the sensor readings. Adjusting, target locked, Captain. Ready to engage. Eva closed her eyes momentarily, steeling herself. This was it. Fire. The mining lasers roared to life, unleashing a cataclysmic torrent of energy that slammed against the asteroid's surface. The ship lurched violently, alarms screeching as the tendrils tightened their grip with renewed ferocity. For a heartbeat, nothing occurred. Then, with an earth-shattering concussion, the rock began to disintegrate. A plume of dust and debris billowed outwards from the point of impact, obscuring visibility. The tendrils thrashed and recoiled, their hold momentarily loosened. "We're through!" Vega exclaimed, her voice ringing with elation. "We've breached the surface! I'm detecting a large opening, leading directly into the cavern system." A wave of relief washed over Eva as she grinned. They had succeeded. Against all odds, they had gained entry. "All right, Bolt, prepare to divert power to the engines. We're going in." "Aye, Captain." Bolt responded, his voice brimming with newfound confidence. He raced back to the engine room, his fear supplanted by a surge of adrenaline. As the dust cloud dissipated, a jagged hole was revealed in the asteroid's surface, a dark and alluring portal leading into the uncharted depths. The rusty bucket, battered but unbowed, slowly maneuvered toward the opening, poised to plunge into the heart of the living asteroid and secure its reward. Asteroid chase. The mining lasers whined into overdrive, their frantic chorus a desperate plea against the asteroid's leaching energy. "Eva, jackpot! Xylo's readings are through the roof." Vega's voice, sharp with exhilaration, cut through the noise. "It's unlike anything. Hyper-concentrated, utterly pure." A jarring klaxon sliced her sentence in two. Crimson alerts pulsed across the bridge. "Incoming! 2 contacts, hot on our tail." Vega snapped, her composure shattered. "It's Valiant's attack dogs, Star Driller and Cosmic Claw." Eva spat a curse. "Bolt, shields. Full power to engines, move it. This isn't a social call." She wrestled the controls, adrenaline surging. Valiant wouldn't let them plunder this find unchallenged. He craved the Xylos, and he'd burn the galaxy to get it. The rusty bucket shuddered, its ancient engines groaning under the strain. The asteroid field rushed past the viewport, a dizzying dance of jagged rock and shimmering grit. Eva plotted a course through the thickest part of the swarm, hoping for the sanctuary of shadows. "They're closing, Eva. Star Driller is breathing down our necks." Grappling cable launched. Vega's fingers danced across the sensor array, her voice tight. "Evasive action. Bolt, can you give me an override to the thrusters?" Eva yelled, eyes fixed on the pursuing menace. She could make out the Star Driller now, a predator sleek and hungry, its grappling launcher blazing. "Working on it, Captain." "The asteroid's drain is still crippling the power flow. We're not getting optimal output." Bolt's voice was laced with near panic. Eva's jaw clenched. "Bypass the regulators. I need those thrusters, now." Bolt hesitated. "That's a gamble, Captain. We risk a system overload. We're dead either way." "Do it." A violent tremor shook the rusty bucket. Lights flickered, then blazed back to life. "Thrusters online, Captain." "But they're running on borrowed time." Eva didn't hesitate. She slammed the lever, and the rusty bucket veered sharply, narrowly dodging the harpoon-like cable. It flashed past the viewport, its metallic barbs gleaming like hungry teeth. "Textbook flying, Captain." Vega cheered, a savage grin momentarily lighting her features. "But Cosmic Claw is flanking. They're trying to box us in." Eva checked the tactical display. The Cosmic Claw, a brute of a ship bristling with weaponry, was indeed angling to intercept. Its massive claws, designed to crush asteroids, looked devastatingly effective. "We can't outrun them," Vega said flatly. "We need to vanish into the field." "Agreed," Eva replied, her voice hard. "But let's make it inconvenient." She activated the ship's external comms. "Star Driller and Cosmic Claw, this is Captain Eva Rostova of the Rusty Bucket. You are in violation of settled claim laws. Stand down immediately." Static crackled, followed by a jeering laugh. "Rostova, you insignificant speck." Valiant's amplified voice thundered. This Xylos is property of stellar dynamics. Move aside, or be exterminated. Eva's lips curled into a grim smile. Is that a fact, Valiant? Here's a counterpoint. She flipped a switch, engaging the Rusty Bucket's mining laser turret. It swiveled, targeting a massive asteroid directly ahead of the Star Driller. Eva, what are you doing? Bolt shrieked. Improvising a detour, Eva said calmly. Fire. The mining laser carved through the asteroid, destabilizing its structure. Moments later, it fractured in a cataclysmic explosion, sending a storm of debris towards the Star Driller. They're hit. Taking evasive maneuvers. Vega crowed. Direct impact on their port shield grid. The Star Driller swerved wildly, barely avoiding a collision with a large chunk of rock. Eva seized the opportunity, threading the Rusty Bucket through the chaotic remnants with practiced precision. But the cosmic claw remained in pursuit, its claws snapping like a metal predator. It unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, which slammed into the Rusty Bucket's shields, sending shudders through the ship. Shields at 50%. Bolt wailed. They won't last much longer. Eva knew they were on borrowed time. She needed a miracle, a desperate tactic. An idea ignited in her mind, a reckless, last-ditch play. Vega, can you reroute power from life support to the mining lasers? She demanded. Vega's jaw dropped. Eva, that's lunacy. We lose life support. We'll asphyxiate. We asphyxiate whether or not Valiant blows us to bits, Vega. Eva snarled. Do it. Just needs to hold for a few seconds. Vega hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded grimly. Understood, Captain. Your call. The ship fell deathly still as the life support systems winked out. The air grew frigid, thin. Eva could feel her lungs struggling. Power rerouted. Vega announced, her voice strained. Mining lasers at maximum output. Eva locked onto a cluster of smaller asteroids directly in the path of the cosmic claw. Unleash everything. The Rusty Bucket erupted, unleashing a cataclysmic barrage of laser fire, vaporizing the asteroids in a blinding eruption. The cosmic claw, caught completely unprepared, was swallowed by the inferno. Impact. They're losing control. Spinning. Vega yelled, exultant. We shook them. Eva didn't relax. Valiant would be back, relentless as a cosmic storm. But for now, they had a reprieve. Restore life support, Vega, she ordered, gasping. And Bolt, reboot those shields. We're far from safe. As the Rusty Bucket limped deeper into the asteroid field, Eva felt the chilling certainty that this was only the opening gambit. Valiant would return, and armed to the teeth. But neither would they lower their guard. The stakes were monumental, the prize paramount. This was a fight for existence itself, a battle for their destiny. And Eva Rostova wouldn't yield. The metallic structure. The Rusty Bucket bucked like a bronco, a fierce jolt that vibrated through Bolt's very bones and sent a spray of sparks fizzing from a frayed wire near Vega's station. What the devil was that? Eva snapped, her grip tightening on the yoke until her knuckles shone. The asteroid field was normally a hazardous dance of close calls and deft maneuvers, but this felt decidedly malicious. Collision, Captain. Vega's voice, normally calm, was taut with alarm. Bearing 270, approximately 50 meters. Solid contact. Eva wrestled the bucket into a precarious orbit, a gasp escaping her lips. 50 meters. They'd practically kissed that chunk of space debris. Damage assessment, Bolt. Engines are holding, Captain, but they're protesting loud and clear. Hull integrity, unstable. Took a nasty hit, but nothing catastrophic. I hope. Bolt's report mirrored the erratic flickering of the emergency lights in the engine room. Vega was a whirlwind of focused energy, her fingers tap dancing across the console. Captain, I'm picking up an anomaly. A structure. Metallic signature. Embedded within the asteroid. Eva's brow furrowed. Metallic structure? Vega, are you certain? This rock's been charted extensively. Nothing like that has ever appeared. Affirmative, Captain. Undeniably there. My scanners are painting a very distinct picture. It's ordered. Geometrically precise. Not a natural formation. A spark of almost predatory curiosity lit Vega's eyes, a facet Eva rarely glimpsed. And it's substantial, Captain. Far larger than the impact zone suggests. Like the tip of an iceberg. Eva hesitated, caught between a rock and a hard place. Valiant was still out there, licking his wounds and, no doubt, strategizing his next strike. Every moment spent investigating this oddity was a moment closer to walking into his corporate snare. Yet, the allure of the unknown, the promise of discovery, was an irresistible melody. Bolt, can you isolate the compromised section of the hull? Eva inquired, her decision already made. Aye, Captain. 5 minutes should do it. Vega, pull up the most detailed scans you can manage of this structure. I want some sense of what we're poking before we get in too deep. While Bolt wrestled with the breach, Vega projected the enhanced scans onto the main viewport. The image that swam into view was utterly baffling. Locked within the coarse, pockmarked asteroid resided a dark, sharp-edged form. Unadorned, clearly manufactured. Only a sliver was visible, yet Vega's sensors insisted it plunged far into the asteroid's heart. It's like a colossal machine entombed alive, Vega breathed, her voice thick with wonder. Machine or mausoleum? Eva countered, a shiver snaking down her spine. An aura of antiquity radiated from the structure, a sense of slumbering, immense power. I'm registering faint energy emissions, Captain, Vega announced, her brow knitted. Very weak, almost imperceptible. But definitely present. It's rhythmic. A subtle pulse. Eva approached the screen, scrutinizing the complex details of the structure. Composition? Vega initiated another scan. Unknown, Captain. The makeup is alien. Trace elements I can't even identify. Incredibly dense, almost impervious. Impervious enough to leave a dent, apparently, Bolt muttered as he rejoined them on the bridge, wiping grime from his forehead. Hull breach is sealed, Captain. But I wouldn't recommend any more asteroid rendezvous. Understood, Bolt. Thanks. Eva turned back to the screen. Vega, pinpoint the source of that energy pulse. Vega adjusted the sensors, zeroing in on a specific location within the structure. Appears to be emanating from a central nexus, Captain. Deep within. Can you get a visual? Vega hesitated again. I can try, Captain. But the rock is incredibly dense. I'll have to redline the sensors. It could fry them. Do it, Eva stated, her tone resolute. The gamble was necessary. This structure, whatever it signified, might be the key to unlocking the enigma of the sentient asteroids, the Xylos crystals, everything. Vega inhaled deeply and engaged the high-intensity scanners. The air thrummed with latent power as the sensors pushed past their limits. The image flickered, distorted, then gradually coalesced. A shape materialized from the snowstorm of static, a sphere, impossibly smooth and ebony, throbbing with a faint, interior luminescence. Mesmerizing, hypnotic. What is that? Bolt whispered, his eyes wide saucers. Eva stared at the sphere, spellbound. An odd sense of familiarity washed over her? As if she'd encountered it before, in a forgotten dream, perhaps. Abruptly, the sphere amplified its pulse, inundating the bridge in an otherworldly glow. The lights convulsed, and a keening wail pierced the air. Sensors overloading, Captain. Vega screamed, her fingers a blur across the console. Can't shut it down. The whine escalated, reaching a shattering crescendo. Then, silence. The lights extinguished, plunging the bridge into absolute darkness. Report! Eva barked, straining to keep her voice steady. Sensors are slag, Captain, Vega said, her voice trembling slightly. Completely fried. I can't get a lock on anything. Engines are still responsive, Bolt reported, a tremor in his voice. But something's off. They're sluggish. As if laboring against a powerful resistance. Eva activated the emergency lamps, bathing the bridge in a dim, blood-red light. The sphere had vanished from the screen, replaced by a field of static. Yet the feeling of its presence lingered like a cold hand on her heart. We need to disengage from here, Eva said, her voice barely audible. Now. Before whatever that thing is decides to fully awaken. She initiated the engines, but the rusty bucket barely stirred. It felt as though they were mired in molasses, held fast by some unseen force. I can't get full power to the thrusters, Captain. Bolt yelled, his voice cracking with alarm. We're pinned. Eva slammed her fist against the console in frustration. Trapped, at the mercy of a sentient artifact buried within an asteroid. And Valiant, still hunting them. Their luck, she feared, had finally deserted them. Then, as swiftly as it had arrived, the resistance dissipated. The engines roared back to life, and the rusty bucket lurched forward, wrenching itself free of the asteroid's grasp. What in space happened? Eva demanded, her heart hammering in her chest. Don't know, Captain, Bolt stammered, his voice still unsteady. It just ceased. As if someone had thrown a switch. Vega remained frozen, staring at the blank screen, her face drained of color. I think, she whispered, I think it let us depart. Eva didn't like the sound of that. It implied a level of awareness, of agency, that was deeply disconcerting. They had stumbled upon something ancient, something powerful, and something alive. And it had chosen to release them. Temporarily, at least. Set a course for the rendezvous point, Eva commanded, her voice steely. We need to deliver these Xylos crystals to Earth. And then we need to decipher what we just unearthed. As the rusty bucket limped away from the asteroid, Eva couldn't dismiss the sensation of being watched. That somewhere, deep within the heart of the rock, something was stirring. And that their encounter was far from concluded. The cannon awakens. The rusty bucket staggered away from the alien edifice, her circuit sputtering sporadically. Eva's grip tightened on the command chair arms, knuckles bone white. Report, Bolt, she clipped, her voice strained. Bolt, whose usual tenor bubbled with optimism, sounded frayed, his voice laced with static tremors. Engines at 70, Captain. Shields? Let's just say space dust offers more protection. And the sensor array is vomiting nonsense. Vega, her face an ethereal mask in the console's flickering glow, was uncharacteristically quiet. Eva shot her a glance. Vega? Anything comprehensible? Vega blinked, her gaze distant. It's as though the asteroid breathes. Subsonic energy ripples, rhythmic throbs. A shiver racked her frame as she raked a hand through her disheveled hair. It's unnatural, Captain. Utterly. A cold dread seeped into Eva's bones, a primal unease that transcended the rusty bucket's immediate woes. She trusted Vega's intuition, that uncanny prescience honed by years on the ragged edge of known space. Lay in a course back to the mining site, Bolt. Let's grab those Xylos crystals and get the hell out of Dodge. As Bolt diverted their trajectory, Eva couldn't shrug off the sensation of being scrutinized. The asteroid, seemingly inert moments ago, now thrummed with latent power, a silent, potent symphony playing beneath its craggy skin. She glanced back at the embedded metal structure, a disturbing premonition tugging at her. Abruptly, the ship pitched violently. Klaxons shrieked, painting the bridge in urgent crimson. What was that, Bolt? Eva shouted above the din. Asteroid shard, Captain. Dead ahead. Can't evade. Eva braced for impact, but it never came. Instead, the alarms died in their throats, swallowed by an unnerving hush. The red strobes winked out, leaving the bridge swaddled in the dim luminescence of the console displays. Bolt? What in blazes just happened? Eva's voice was barely audible. Bolt goggled at his console, jaw slack. I don't know, Captain. The asteroid, it just stopped. Like hitting a brick wall of nothing. Vega gasped, a trembling finger aimed at the main view screen. Look! Eva spun to face the screen, her breath hitching in her throat. The metallic structure radiated a soft, celestial azure glow emanating from every joint and weld. The light intensified, spreading across the asteroid's surface like luminous veins, revealing previously unseen geometric etchings carved into the rock. The asteroid shuddered, a deep, resonant vibration that reverberated through the rusty bucket. The metal structure pulsed again, and with a gut-wrenching groan of tortured metal and rending stone, it began to unfurl. Plates slid, panels parted, and sections rotated, revealing an intricate latticework of gears, conduits, and energy nodes. Eva watched, paralyzed, as the alien geometry coalesced into something disturbingly familiar. A long, cylindrical shaft extended from the asteroid's surface, dwarfing the rusty bucket in its sheer enormity. A cannon. An orbital cannon of unfathomable scale, slumbering for millennia within the heart of a sentient asteroid. By the void. Bolt breathed, his voice a blend of astonishment and terror. The cannon's barrel pivoted slowly, its gaping maw turning towards the inky blackness of space. A low hum vibrated through the bridge, escalating as the cannon primed. The air crackled, and the very fabric of space seemed to twist around the weapon. Adrenaline surged through Eva, her mind struggling to process the spectacle. The structure, the sphere, the energy pulses, it all culminated in this. They had stumbled upon something ancient, formidable, and potentially catastrophic. What is it going to do? Vega whispered, eyes wide with dread. Eva couldn't say. She only knew that they were pinned in the sights of something beyond human comprehension. She sensed the cannon was awakening, and that its purpose, whatever it may be, was about to be unleashed upon the galaxy. The cannon continued its charging sequence, the hum escalating into a deafening roar. Eva gripped the chair, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had to act. Bolt, reroute all available power to the engines. Get us out of here. Trying, Captain. But the energy field, it's interfering with everything. Eva shot a grim look at Vega. Override the interference. Find a loophole. Vega shook her head, her face ashen. I don't know, Captain. It's beyond anything I've encountered. The energy is too potent, too complex. Eva cursed inwardly. They were trapped. Helpless. At the mercy of an ancient weapon and an asteroid that seemed to be guiding its firing sequence. Suddenly, the cannon ceased its preparations. The hum dissipated, the energy field collapsed, and the azure light flickered and died. The cannon remained aimed at the void, a silent guardian protecting a secret buried for eons. Eva exhaled shakily, her body trembling with delayed reaction. What happened? Bolt scrutinized his console, his fingers dancing across the controls. I don't know, Captain. The energy just vanished. As if it never existed. Vega remained silent, her gaze locked on the view screen. She seemed to be in a trance, her mind adrift in the echoes of the raw energy that had just coursed through the asteroid. Eva pushed herself to her feet, her legs unsteady. She walked to the view screen, staring at the colossal cannon dominating the asteroid. What was its purpose? Who crafted this destructive instrument? And why was it concealed here? Answers eluded her, but one thing was undeniable: their mission had just undergone a radical transformation. The Xylos crystals were no longer the sole concern. They had unearthed a secret capable of reshaping the galaxy's destiny, and they alone possessed that knowledge. Eva turned to her crew, her face set with resolve. We aren't leaving until we decipher the nature of that thing. Bolt, restore the sensors. Vega, look for any residual energy signatures. We need every scrap of information on that cannon. Bolt and Vega nodded, their initial terror giving way to a renewed sense of purpose. They were the crew of the Rusty Bucket, and they never shirked a challenge, no matter how formidable. As they began to unravel the mysteries of the orbital cannon, Eva couldn't shake the feeling that they were treading on thin ice. They had awakened something ancient and powerful, and she could only guess at the repercussions. However, she knew they had to confront it head-on, for the sake of Earth, and for the sake of unveiling the full truth about this sentient asteroid. The crystal key. The cold clinging to the hull of the rusty bucket was amplified by a tension so thick it felt like another atmospheric pressure. The orbital cannon's unsettling demonstration still lingered, a silent menace permeating every groan of the ancient vessel. Bolt Rivet, his face a roadmap of grease and anxiety, was lost in the labyrinthine glow of the holographic cannon schematic. Dormant energy pulsed through the alien architecture like glowing ichor. He raked a trembling hand through his already chaotic hair, whispering, "Inconceivable, this signature, unlike anything I've encountered." Eva Rostova, her usual unwavering focus sharpened with apprehension, stood by him. "Anything, Bolt? Anything at all to decipher this thing?" Bolt swallowed, his throat working. The power source, almost organic, yet not. Resonant. A frequency just beyond my reach, yet hauntingly familiar. He manipulated the holographic controls, zeroing in on crystalline clusters embedded deep within the conduit. These crystals, amplifiers. But not just any crystals, Captain. Their atomic makeup, near identical to Xylo's. Comprehension flashed in Eva's eyes. Xylo's? The crystals we're mining to save Earth are fueling this monstrosity. Potentially. Bolt pulled back to show the full schematic. The conduits converge on this central chamber, a gargantuan focusing lens, intensifying the energy from the Xylo's analog crystals. The cannon is merely a conduit, the power source is the true terror. Vega Stone, ever pragmatic, cut in from her station. So, if we regulated the influx of Xylo's crystals, could we control the cannon's power? Theoretically, Bolt replied, his voice tight with worry. But tampering with a system this complex carries considerable risk. Overload, instability, or triggering something we can't predict. Eva began to pace, the ring of her boots against the decker-stark rhythm in the tense silence. The implications were dire. They'd unearthed a weapon of unthinkable potential, energized by the very resource they sought to secure. The irony stung, the weight of the situation almost unbearable. "Bolt, initiate a simulation," Eva commanded, her voice firm despite a tremor in her own hand. Resonant frequency of these crystals, their interaction with the energy conduit. Vega, rescan the asteroid. Any other chambers, power sources, anything that clarifies its original purpose. The rusty bucket buzzed with renewed purpose, the hum superseded by the feverish activity of a crew racing against the clock. Bolt's fingers danced across the interface, summoning data and running calculations. Vega, her gaze intense, sifted through sensor data, hunting for anomalies. The hours dissolved into a relentless cycle of analysis and conjecture. Bolt, fueled by stimulants and dread, finally surfaced from his digital den, pale but resolute. "Captain," he announced, his voice raspy. "I've isolated the resonant frequency. A complex harmonic intrinsically linked to the Xylo's crystals. And a feedback loop. The crystals aren't just powering the cannon, the energy flow is modulating them, rewriting their properties. They're learning, adapting to the energy signature." Adapting? Eva questioned, her brow furrowed in thought. "What does that imply?" "I can't say definitively," Bolt confessed. "But it suggests a self-improving system, striving for efficiency, for enhanced power. The more Xylo's analog crystals it absorbs, the faster it evolves." Vega's voice cut through the air, laced with urgency. "Captain, major energy spike detected emanating from the central chamber. Wild fluctuations, almost like recalibration." Eva's gaze flicked between Bolt and Vega, her mind whirling. "Pinpoint the source." "The crystalline structures themselves," Vega responded. "Increasing luminosity, faster vibration. They're reacting, or preparing." Bolt's face drained of color. "Captain, I believe I understand. It's optimizing the energy flow, seeking the purest, most concentrated source of Xylo's crystals. And it knows we possess it." A chilling premonition washed over Eva. The cannon wasn't just a weapon, it was a ravenous, evolving entity, and the Rusty Bucket's cargo hold had just become its target. Vega, time until critical mass. Eva demanded, her voice taut. Estimating, 1 hour, Captain. Possibly less. 60 minutes to decipher a weapon capable of leveling planets, fueled by the lifeblood they were meant to deliver to Earth. The burdens of a galaxy settled on Eva's shoulders. Bolt, she said, her voice regaining its customary steel. Can we exploit this feedback loop? Disrupt the energy flow, initiate a system overload. Doubt clouded Bolt's features. Incredibly dangerous, Captain. A miscalculation could trigger another discharge, or worse, destabilize the entire asteroid. We have no alternative, Eva countered, her gaze unwavering. We cannot allow this device to fall into hostile hands, or lay waste to everything in its path. We must try. Bolt nodded slowly, fear warring with respect for his captain's unwavering strength. Understood, Captain. I have an idea, a desperate gamble. If we can isolate the resonant frequency and modulate our xylose crystals to match, we might generate a counter-resonance, disrupting the system's energy flow. How? Eva pressed. Access to the main cargo hold is crucial, Bolt explained. The purest xylose crystals are required. Then, we recalibrate our mining equipment to generate a very specific frequency. Complicated, but our only option. Eva turned to Vega. Assemble a boarding party. We're heading to the cargo hold. Aye, Captain, Vega replied, her voice alive with grim determination. As the boarding party gathered, Eva felt a surge of resolve mingled with apprehension. They were poised on the edge of a desperate gamble, a race against oblivion to control a power they barely understood. But one thing held true, they would stand their ground. The destiny of the galaxy, it seemed, hinged on the courage of a motley crew and a mining vessel that, in an instant, had become much more than just rusty. Under attack. The klaxon blared, a ragged, metallic scream that rattled the Rusty Bucket's aged frame. Eva, pinned to her command chair, registered the shudder an instant before Vega's strained voice burst through the comms. Captain, hostiles. 2 ships sporting the Nova Galactic crest. It's the Star Driller and the Cosmic Claw. A knot formed in Eva's stomach. Valiant. The man was relentless. Raise shields, she snapped. Bolt, that resonance frequency, how close are we? Still tweaking it, Captain. The energy matrix is volatile. One misstep, and we'll overload the entire system, including us. Bolt's voice, a thread of anxiety, barely cut through the mounting clamor. Crimson lances of energy erupted on the main screen. The Star Driller, a behemoth of repurposed mining lasers, partnered with the Cosmic Claw, a lithe support vessel brandishing grapples and EMP emitters, displaying a coordinated aggression honed by countless exercises. A paragon of corporate avarice, they threatened to crush the Rusty Bucket like a discarded trinket. They're flanking! Vega cried, her fingers a blur on the console. Shields are holding, but the concentrated fire, we can't endure it for long. Eva's grip tightened on the chair arms, knuckles bone white. Evasive actions. Jonah, get us out of this kill zone. A grunt was Jonah's only reply, as steady as ever. The Rusty Bucket bucked and weaved, a desperate dance against the relentless onslaught. Lasers seared past the viewport, leaving trails of vaporized metal on the shields. The vessel protested with groans and shrieks, a mechanical orchestra of strain. They're deploying a dampening field. Jonah reported, his voice tight with effort. My helm is sluggish, I can't break free. A brutal impact slammed Eva against her restraints. Alarms erupted in a strobe of red light. Status report, she demanded. Shields at 40% and falling. Vega declared darkly. They're targeting the engines. Eva's mind clawed for an answer, a way to break Valiant's focus. Bolt, can you reroute power to the comms? I want a word with our uninvited guest. Despite the bedlam, Bolt managed a shaky, "Aye, Captain." Standby, silence descended, broken only by the whine of dying systems and the muffled thud of impacts. Then, crackling with static, Bolt announced, "Comms are live, Captain." Eva inhaled sharply and activated the channel. "Rex Valiant, this is Captain Eva Rostova of the Rusty Bucket. Desist your attack at once. You are interfering with a vital scientific operation." A beat of silence, then Valiant's oily tones oozed into the bridge. "Rostova, you are harboring Nova Galactic property. Hand over the Xylos crystals and the asteroid, and I may consider granting you safe passage. Those crystals are crucial to saving Earth, Valiant. Are you willing to sacrifice billions for your own enrichment?" Fury sharpened Eva's words. A cold, mirthless sound answered her. "Earth is a lost investment, Rostova. Nova Galactic has its sights set on the future. And the future belongs to those who control the assets." Another, heavier blow. Light stuttered and died, leaving the bridge in oppressive gloom. Emergency lights flickered on, painting the scene with ghoulish shadows. "Engines are down!" Jonah roared, panic-edging his voice. "We're sitting ducks." A glacial dread seeped into Eva's heart. Trapped, they were easy prey for Valiant's corporate scavengers. "Shields?" "Holding at 20%, Vega whispered. But they won't withstand much more." "Bolt, the resonance cascade? Where are we?" Eva pressed, grasping at straws. "Almost there, Captain. I just need to bypass a couple more security protocols." Bolt's voice, strained, punctuated by frantic keystrokes. Beyond the viewport, the Star Driller and Cosmic Claw closed the distance, their weapons primed. The screen showed their looming profiles against the jagged backdrop of the asteroid field. Valiant wasn't posturing. He intended to obliterate them. Eva slammed a fist on the console, desperately seeking an out, any out. They were outgunned, outmaneuvered, teetering on the precipice of annihilation. But she refused capitulation. Not while a spark of possibility remained. "All hands, brace for maximum impact," she commanded, her voice echoing with resolve. "We will not fall without a fight." A wave of blistering heat washed across the bridge as the Star Driller unleashed another torrent of laser fire. The Rusty Bucket convulsed, its shields finally giving way. The viewport fractured, a web of cracks spreading across its surface. Eva squeezed her eyes shut, steeling herself for the end. But then, a surge of raw power surged through the ship, a tangible force that raised the hairs on her skin. "Captain!" Bolt shouted, his voice alight with triumph. "I've got it! The resonance cascade is online." Hope ignited in Eva's chest. What had Bolt unleashed? The view screen blurred, warping the image of the closing ships. A piercing whine filled the air, escalating until it throbbed at the edge of pain. Then, the asteroid itself began to vibrate. Outside, the Star Driller and the Cosmic Claw lurched, their movements unpredictable. Valiant's voice, suddenly frantic and confused, blared over the comm. "What's happening?" "Report!" Silence was his only answer. The whine intensified, building to a crescendo that threatened to tear the Rusty Bucket apart. A peculiar stillness settled over Eva. They were still vulnerable, but for the first time since the attack began, she felt a flicker of anticipation. Bolt had achieved something extraordinary. Now all they had to do was live through it. Power to the cannon. "Bolt!" The urgency in Eva's voice, fractured by static and echoing alarms aboard the Rusty Bucket, sliced through the chaos. Sparks spat from a severed conduit near her command chair, a metallic tang assaulting her senses. "Divert all available power to the cannon. Now!" Deep within the asteroid's core, amidst a web of pulsing cables and resonating generators, Bolt Rivet's goggles mirrored a frantic ballet of projected blueprints. Despite the tremor in his limbs, his fingers danced across the control panel, channeling energy flows with desperate speed. He whispered fervent appeals to the machine spirits, each adjustment accompanied by a silent prayer for stability. "Almost. Just a little more. Eva, are you certain?" Vega's voice, usually a beacon of calm, was laced with anxiety. Static swirled around her words. The energy readings are escalating exponentially. We haven't fully assessed this weapon's potential. We risk destabilizing the entire asteroid. Eva gripped the chair's worn arms, the rusty bucket shuddering under another assault from the Star Driller. Shields were weakening, hull integrity plummeting. Time was running out. We have no alternative, Vega. Valiant won't relent. We fire this cannon or become cosmic flotsam. Divert that power, Bolt. And Vega, brace for the jolt. Bolt swallowed, his mouth suddenly parched. The holographic display showed energy levels climbing, numbers blurring into a vortex of possible annihilation. He felt the raw potency humming through the deck plates, a palpable force that both frightened and thrilled him. He had never handled anything so volatile, so unpredictable. But Captain, Vega pleaded, her voice rising, the calibration matrix is incomplete. No diagnostics run. Blind firing could trigger a critical cascade. The potential blast radius. Vega, enough. Eva snapped, her tone brooking no dissent. Trust me. Trust us. We will adapt. Just prepare yourself. Bolt inhaled deeply, his heart hammering like a frantic drummer. He finalized the power redirection, the last circuit clicking into place with reassuring certainty. The holographic schematic solidified, illuminating the cannon's intricate workings. He saw the energy's path, the complex interplay of forces, the potential for unimaginable destruction. A split-second hesitation, a chilling premonition, gripped him. What if Vega was right? What if they unleashed a genie they couldn't restrain? But then the faces of his crew flashed before him, their grit, their resilience, their unwavering belief in him. He couldn't fail them. Power redirected, Captain, Bolt announced, his voice trembling slightly, yet resolute. Cannon ready to engage. Eva exhaled, unaware she'd been holding her breath. The rusty bucket convulsed as another laser barrage struck the failing shields. Acquire the Star Driller as target, Bolt. Let Valiant sample his own poison. Bolt's fingers flew across the targeting array, locking onto the Star Driller's exposed underbelly. The cannon vibrated, the air around it shimmering with pent-up energy. The holographic display showed the projected trajectory, a lance of pure energy capable of cleaving through steel. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Bolt whispered, his voice barely audible. He pressed the activation stud, and the world dissolved in a supernova of light. The asteroid quaked, its structure resonating with the unleashed energy. Bolt braced against the console, teeth clenched, eyes sealed tight. He felt a surge of power, a tidal wave of raw energy threatening to consume him. In the void, a beam of untamed energy erupted from the asteroid, spearing towards the Star Driller. The Nova Galactic vessel, caught off guard, had no time to react. The beam struck home, piercing its shields and armor as if they were tissue paper. The Star Driller convulsed, its hull breached, its systems collapsing. Explosions racked the ship as its power core went critical. In moments, Valiant's flagship was reduced to a swirling cloud of incandescent debris. On the rusty bucket's bridge, Eva watched the obliteration unfold on the main view screen, her face a stoic mask of grim satisfaction. The ship still sustained fire from the cosmic claw, but the tide had turned. They had delivered a crushing blow, a stark message to Valiant and Nova Galactic. Clean shot, Bolt, Eva said, a hint of pride coloring her tone. Now, let's conclude this dance. Even as she spoke, a fresh wave of alarms blared through the rusty bucket. Vega's voice, bordering on hysteria, cut through the noise. Eva, the cannon. It's overloading. The energy readings are critical. We must disengage it. Bolt stared at the holographic display, his blood turning to ice. The energy readings were spiking wildly, numbers flashing crimson, warning lights screaming. The cannon was unstable, perched on the precipice of catastrophic failure. Bolt, shut it down. Eva roared, her voice sharp with urgency. Before it obliterates us all. Bolt frantically hammered at the power couplings, but the controls were dead. The cannon was ensnared in a feedback loop, feeding on its own energy, amplifying its power and instability with each passing heartbeat. "I can't, Captain!" Bolt cried, his voice laced with desperation. "The system's locked. I can't disengage it." The asteroid groaned, the vibrations intensifying. Cracks spiderwebbed across the control room walls, dust and rubble raining from the ceiling. The air crackled with static, the pungent smell of ozone stinging Bolt's nostrils. He knew, with sickening certainty, that they stood at the edge of annihilation. The cannon was about to unleash its full, unbridled fury, and they would all be consumed by the inferno. But then, a spark of inspiration, a desperate gamble, ignited within Bolt's mind. He recalled something from the antique schematics, a concealed failsafe, a last-ditch maneuver to modulate the cannon's power. It was a long shot, a prayer tossed into the void, but it was their sole chance. "Captain," Bolt said, his voice barely audible above the cannon's roar, "there's one final measure I can attempt. But it is perilous. Extremely perilous." Eva didn't hesitate. "Execute it, Bolt. Employ whatever means necessary. Just redeem us." Manual aim. The failsafe slammed into operation, the rusty bucket's aged frame groaned in protest. From the cannon, a resonant thrum vibrated, an unnerving sound that tugged at the edges of perception. Sweat beading on his brow, Bolt attacked the control panel, a rat's nest of sparking wires and erratic readouts. "By the stars, it's awake," he muttered, equal parts fascination and dread lacing his tone. On the bridge, Eva's grip tightened on the command chair, her knuckles bone-white. Vega's console blazed with escalating energy readings. "Situation," she snapped, her voice a wire drawn taut. "Failsafe engaged, Captain," Vega reported, eyes riveted to the flickering data streams. "But instability is critical. Energy flux is untamed. We've bought time, perhaps, but this device is beyond control." Bolt's voice cut through the static over the comms. "Captain, power's up, but the targeting matrix, it's slagged. Utterly useless. Just noise." Eva bit back a curse. A weapon of immense power, rendered impotent. The image of the star driller, consumed by fire in the void, seared her mind. Fortune had favored them then. This time, something more would be needed. "Can we reroute power, circumvent the damaged circuits?" she pressed, her mind a whirlwind. Bolt was already searching. "Trying, Captain, but the architecture is like nothing I've encountered. It's grafted alien technology over something unrecognizable. Like patching a warp drive with baling wire." Vega's warning pierced the tense air. "Captain, energy levels are spiking. Red line imminent. If we don't discharge, we'll experience total disintegration." Eva's fist struck the console. "There has to be a way." She forced clarity. Back on Earth, before the mining claims and the allure of Xylos, she'd studied the heavens. Trajectories, slingshots, mechanics. That long-dormant knowledge now seemed essential. A glint of resolve hardened her gaze. "Bolt, give me manual control of the cannon's azimuth and elevation. Raw directional control, nothing else." "Manual, you mean, eyeball it?" Bolt asked, disbelief evident. "Precisely," Eva confirmed. "I'll guide it." A moment of silence hung heavy. "Then, I can attempt that, Captain. It'll be coarse. Extremely coarse. But I believe I can divert thrust to a manual override. Stand by." Eva addressed Vega. "Give me visual feeds from all external cameras. And patch me to navigation. I require a star chart, our present location, and projected path relative to the nearest stellar objects." Vega, efficient in crisis, complied without delay. The main screen dissolved into a composite of views from the rusty bucket's hull. The star-strewn gulf of space yawned, uncaring of their predicament. Bolt returned, his voice tight yet victorious. "Captain, manual control is hot. Proceed with caution, it's precarious. No safeguards." "Understood," Eva acknowledged, her gaze fixed on the swirling tapestry outside. She felt the cannon's suppressed power beneath her, a volatile entity straining at its constraints. Navigation data flooded her console, a dizzying torrent of symbols. Eva sifted through it, searching for patterns, for points of reference. She needed to calculate the cannon's arc, factoring in their movement, the gravitational influence of the nearby asteroid field, even the subtle pull of a distant Jovian giant. An equation of impossible complexity, compounded by the dwindling seconds. Vega, Enhance Camera 3. The one facing Galactic South, correct. Magnifying, came the reply. The view zoomed in, revealing an asteroid cluster, their surfaces scarred by millennia of cosmic bombardment. Eva singled one out, a large, misshapen body distinguished by a prominent crater near its apparent north pole. She recalled studying its orbit in university, an erratic path, swinging close to the inner system before plunging far into the void. That asteroid, Eva declared, indicating it on the screen. Designate it Kappa 7. I need its precise spatial coordinates and velocity vector. Immediately. Vega's fingers danced across the console. Coordinates locked. Velocity vector, processing. Captain, what's the intention? I intend to use it as a target, Eva stated, grim determination in her voice. A substantial, distant target. Bolt, what kind of yield are we talking? What's the theoretical range of this monstrosity? Range? Bolt echoed. Captain, this is a weapon capable of erasing a battleship. Its reach is staggering. Light years, potentially. Eva registered the implications. Light years. Almost beyond comprehension. But it also meant that the slightest miscalculation would send the energy beam into the endless void, accomplishing nothing but accelerating their demise. The velocity vector for Kappa 7 materialized on her console. Eva rapidly input the data into her mental calculations, comparing it to their trajectory and the cannon's calculated firing arc. The numbers swam, threatening to drown her. She drew a deep breath, forcing focus. Bolt, she commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I need you to adjust the cannon's elevation by 0.05 degrees up. And then, a lateral correction of 0.02 degrees to starboard. Bolt hesitated. Captain, are you certain? Those are minuscule adjustments. At this power, even a sliver of a degree off could. Just do it, Bolt, Eva's tone brooked no argument. Trust my calculations. She watched the readings on her console, tracking the cannon's subtle movements. The adjustments felt agonizingly slow. Almost aligned, almost aligned. Bolt muttered. Hold. Eva instructed. Hold that position. She studied the image of Kappa 7, its scarred surface gleaming faintly in the starlight. A minuscule mote in the cosmic immensity, it was now their only chance. Vega, energy level. Eva asked, her voice barely audible. Critical, Captain, Vega replied. 99%. Catastrophic event imminent. Eva inhaled deeply, channeling her resolve. She pictured the cannon's unleashed force, a lance of pure energy, cleaving through space, striking Kappa 7 with unimaginable force. Bolt, she commanded, her voice firm. Engage. The rusty bucket lurched violently as the cannon discharged. An incandescent flare engulfed the bridge, followed by a thunderous roar that seemed to rip through reality. Then, quiet. A pregnant silence that felt more ominous than any clamor. Eva stared at the view screen, her pulse hammering. For an instant, there was nothing. Only the cold, distant stars. Then, a subtle distortion appeared near Kappa 7. A ripple in space-time, a shimmering heat haze that grew rapidly in intensity. And then, a blinding flash. A secondary detonation, dwarfing the first. The asteroid, annihilated, simply vanished. Eva exhaled shakily, a wave of relief flooding through her. They had fired. They had averted overload. But the ensuing quiet offered no solace. The energy readings on Vega's console were plummeting, the cannon's thrum fading to a whimper. And a new warning light pulsed on the main display, a crimson omen. "Captain," Vega announced, her voice tight with worry. "We're not in the clear just yet." Firing the cannon. A baleful red glow throbbed within the gun's chamber, casting long shadows across the suddenly silent bridge. "Report!" Eva snapped, her voice strained. Vega, complexion ashen, remained fixated on her console. "Captain, the energy signatures are erratic. It's as if the cannon is simultaneously depleted and surging with power." A clang announced Bolt's arrival, tools scattered as he rushed to Vega's station. "Let's see that interface. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Activating that weapon, it's like rousing a sleeping leviathan." His fingers danced over the controls, concern etching itself onto his face. "The conduits are maxed out. We're fortunate the whole system didn't rupture." A violent shudder ran through the vessel. Klaxons wailed, bathing the command deck in a disorienting strobe of crimson and amber light. "Status update." Eva barked, gripping a nearby stanchion. "Multiple energy signatures detected, Captain," a voice crackled over the comm bearing, 180 Mark III. "Closing rapidly, far too rapidly. Weapons fire incoming." Eva cursed under her breath. Valiant. The asteroid debacle hadn't deterred him. Evasive action. Full thrust. The rusty bucket groaned under the strain as it twisted to avoid the assault. A dark, streamlined missile detached from the star driller on the main view screen, leaving a shimmering contrail in its wake. It was inbound. "Brace for impact." Eva roared, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Captain, we can't shake it," the helmsman yelled, his voice tight with fear. "It's locked on tight." Vega's announcement cut through the din. "The cannon. It's cycling. Slow, agonizingly slow, but it's accumulating energy. Perhaps a single shot's worth." Eva's mind raced, weighing the options. One shot. A desperate gamble, given the cannon's volatility. Yet, they were out of alternatives. "Bolt, can you divert power from life support to the cannon?" she questioned, masking her apprehension. Bolt met her gaze, his expression grave. "Risky, Captain. We'll lose life support temporarily. But it's our only play." "Engage," Eva declared, turning to Vega. "Arm the cannon. Designate that missile as the target." The bridge fell silent, broken only by the hum of the ship and the frantic tapping of fingers on control panels. The incoming missile loomed larger, a dark needle hurtling toward them. "Power rerouted, Captain," Bolt announced, sweat beading on his brow. "Life support offline." Lights dimmed, painting the bridge in a sickly orange hue. The air grew heavy, oppressive. A gasp rippled through the assembled crew. "Cannon charging," Vega reported, her voice trembling. "But it's glacial, too slow." Eva watched the missile swell to fill the screen, a pit forming in her stomach. Time was running out. "Bypass automated targeting," she ordered. "Manual override." Vega's eyes widened. "Captain, that's reckless. The targeting system is fried. We'll be shooting blind." "I know," Eva replied, her voice firm. "We have no choice. Give me control." Hesitation flickered across Vega's face, then vanished as she entered the override sequence. The targeting matrix dissolved, replaced by rudimentary crosshairs. Eva grasped the controls, her hands trembling minutely. She focused, visualizing the missile's path, calculating its trajectory. It felt like launching a pebble at a speeding bullet amidst a storm. "Almost there," she whispered. The missile engulfed the screen, a black abyss against the starlit tapestry. Eva inhaled deeply, held her breath, and squeezed the trigger. A searing flash erupted from the cannon. A torrent of raw energy, uncontrolled and ferocious, discharged into space. It was an erratic, untamed force, unlike the precise beam they'd unleashed upon the asteroid. For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then, the missile ceased to exist. Not detonated, not diverted, simply expunged from reality. A wave of cheers swept across the bridge. They'd pulled it off. They'd lived to fight another day. The celebration was fleeting. The energy beam, having vaporized the missile, persisted along its path, slamming into that star driller and its accompanying ships. The star driller lurched violently, its shields collapsing. The other vessels fared no better, their systems overwhelmed by the unexpected surge. On the view screen, Commander Valiant's features twisted in a mask of fury and disbelief. His vessel listed precariously, leaking smoke. What was that? He stuttered, his voice lost in static. Eva surveyed the crippled ships, her mind whirling. Her intended target was solely the missile. The cannon, however, possessed a staggering, untamable strength. "Consider yourselves disabled, Commander Valiant," she said, her voice steely. "Return to base and deliver a message. The rusty bucket is not to be provoked." Valiant's gaze burned into her, a portrait of pure animosity. The connection terminated abruptly. That star drillers and the other vessels drifted away, their engines silenced, their weaponry inert. Eva released the controls, her body racked with fatigue. The battle was won, but the war loomed. The cannon was a liability, a powder keg on the verge of detonation. What's worse, Valiant and his corporate masters now had a glimpse of their power. "Life support restored, Captain," Bolt announced, his voice raspy. "But the energy levels, they're still fluctuating wildly. The cannon is even more unstable now." Vega nodded, her expression grim. "We need to disable it, Captain. For good. Before it consumes us all." Eva fixed her gaze on the pulsing red light, still a constant threat. They were correct. The cannon was too perilous to remain active. Yet, how could they shut down this entity that defied their understanding? She pondered Earth, the Xylos crystals, the mission that started this journey. Everything was different now. No longer just miners, they had become something else entirely. Guardians? Pawns? Mere survivors in a cosmic game they didn't comprehend. "We'll find a way," she said, her voice echoing with resolve. "We always do." Her gaze traveled across the bridge, locking with each crew member in turn. Exhausted, shaken, but unbowed. Ready to confront whatever fate delivered. "Bolt, Vega, I need you to collaborate on stabilizing the cannon, even if just for now. We need a window to concoct a plan. The rest of you, get what rest you can. We're going to need it." The crew members nodded, resolute. They had stared into the abyss together, and emerged alive. They were the crew of the Rusty Bucket, and they would not surrender. Not now, not ever. Heroes of Xylo. The return to Earth felt different, a stark contrast to their departure. It wasn't solely the gentle hum of Xylo's crystals nestled in the cargo hold, but the crushing knowledge of what they'd witnessed, the choices they'd made. The cosmos stretched out, a vast and perilous expanse, while the Rusty Bucket, despite the dormant behemoth of a cannon within, seemed diminished, fragile. Eva watched the marbled blues and greens of Earth swell in the viewport. "Home," she whispered, the word a strange blend of relief and an unsettling premonition. Approaching Earth space, crackled the bucket's antiquated comm system. Receiving multiple hails, mostly celebratory, some inquiries of a legal nature. Eva released a weary breath. Patch through the accolades first. A moment of triumph before the vulture's circle. The faces that splashed onto the main screen were a vibrant mosaic of elation, streaming tears, and stunned disbelief. Loved ones, former colleagues, all bound by a shared sense of gratitude and wonder. The saga of the Rusty Bucket's survival, their audacious gamble with the experimental weapon, had ignited imaginations. They were, for now, heroes. "Eva, you absolute marvel," thundered her mother, her features radiating pride. "I always knew you were destined for greatness, even if it involved risking life, limb, and the bucket." Eva's grin was genuine, lighting up her face. "Wouldn't have missed it for all the tea in China, Mom." The legal inquiries, when they inevitably arrived, offered a colder reception. Representatives from Omnicorp and Stellar Mining Coalition sought to clarify the status of the Xylos crystals, the extraterrestrial cannon, and the unfortunate fate of Commander Valiant. Eva remained circumspect, promising full transparency upon touchdown. She knew the corporations were circling, hungry to exploit the situation for their gain. As the rusty bucket pierced Earth's atmosphere, a formation of sleek, chrome spacecraft escorted them, their movements a ballet of precision. A far cry from the bureaucratic neglect they'd encountered mere weeks before. "They're rolling out the red carpet," Bolt grumbled, tinkering with the cannon's power regulators. "Makes you wonder what strings are attached." Vega, laser-focused on the cannon's energy output, offered no reply, her brow creased in concentration. "Energy readings are stable, but erratic. It still feels wrong." The landing at the newly christened Xylos Research and Development Facility felt almost dreamlike. A sprawling throng of people had assembled, brandishing banners, chanting their names, and blanketing the rusty bucket in a storm of confetti. Eva, Bolt, and Vega emerged into the dazzling sunlight, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the welcome. "Well, this is a first," Bolt muttered, adjusting his goggles. A sharply dressed woman clutching a clipboard hurried towards them, a practiced smile fixed on her face. "Captain Rostova? Welcome back. I'm Agent Davies, representing, let's just say, a concerned branch of the government. We're here to ensure your transition back to civilian life proceeds without a hitch." Eva arched a brow. "Civilian life? I thought we were hailed as saviors." Davies gave a strained chuckle. "Of course, you are. But even saviors have paperwork." The subsequent days devolved into a blur of interviews, debriefings, and award ceremonies. Medals, keys to cities, honorary degrees, they piled up. Eva found herself delivering speeches, shaking hands with dignitaries, and reciting the same answers ad nauseam. "How did you manage it? Were you afraid? What's next for the rusty bucket?" She endeavored to be gracious, to highlight the importance of collaboration and the necessity for responsible resource management, but beneath it all, she felt utterly drained. The weight of the cannon, the awareness of its potential for annihilation, pressed down on her. The culmination of the celebration was a lavish gala thrown in their honor. Chandeliers dripped light onto the ballroom floor, the air pulsed with music, and the tables sagged under the weight of decadent dishes. Eva, resplendent in borrowed finery, felt like an imposter. She spotted Bolt, equally ill at ease in his rented tuxedo, hovering near the buffet table with a drink. "This is a lot," he said, eyes wide. "You have no idea," Eva sighed. "I feel like I've wandered into some surreal play." Vega, surprisingly, seemed to be thriving. She was deep in conversation with a coterie of scientists, her hands moving expressively as she detailed her theories about the cannon's power core. "She's in her element," Bolt remarked. "Geeking out with Earth's finest minds." Eva smiled faintly. Good for her. Someone should be enjoying this. Later, as the music soared and dancers swirled, Eva found herself on a balcony overlooking the cityscape, the cool night air a welcome reprieve from the stuffy ballroom. A presence materialized beside her, and she turned to find a familiar face. Commander Elias Thorne, the hardened veteran who had initially dismissed the rusty bucket as insignificant. "Captain Rostova," he said, his tone unexpectedly gentle. "I wanted to offer my congratulations, in person. You and your crew, you've achieved something extraordinary." Eva nodded, unsure how to respond. Thorne pressed on, "I misjudged you. We all did. You proved that ingenuity and grit can triumph over even the most insurmountable obstacles. You've given Earth a chance, a real chance." Eva gazed at the city lights, a million sparks against the darkness. "We also brought back a weapon that could obliterate it all," she said softly. Thorne sighed heavily. "That's a burden you shouldn't bear alone. The brightest minds are dedicated to understanding it. We'll find a solution." Eva remained unconvinced. She understood the allure of dominance, the enticement to wield such immense power. It would be a monumental challenge to resist. And she also knew that Omnicorp and Stellar Mining Coalition would not concede defeat willingly. "Thank you, Commander," she replied, facing him once more. "I appreciate the sentiment." As the gala drew to a close and the crowds began to thin, Eva gathered her crew. They stood together on the facility steps, the flashing lights of departing vehicles illuminating their faces. So, Eva started, glancing between Bolt and Vega. "What's our next move?" Bolt shrugged. "I could sure use a decent nap. And perhaps a lifetime supply of synth steak." Vega grinned. "I want access to the facility's labs. I have a few ideas about that cannon." Eva nodded slowly. "Then let's get to work. We might be celebrated now, but the real fight is only beginning." Back aboard the Rusty Bucket, a modest celebration unfolded as the crew shared a late-night snack. "To the heroes of Xylo!" Vega cheered, raising her glass. "Here, here!" Bolt echoed. After the dishes were stowed, Bolt grew serious. "So, Cap, what's the game plan for the big gun?" Eva reclined, her gaze fixed on the ceiling. "We face a critical choice, Bolt: destroy it, or grasp its functionality. Each path brims with risks. And both are further than our initial mission parameters," Vega added, her eyes sweeping across the control panels. "But like it or not, we're uniquely positioned to decide its fate." "Then it's time to study," Eva declared. "Vega, run diagnostics and unravel its power source. Bolt, focus on containment and shielding. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands." Bolt nodded, already fiddling with a nearby panel. "Right. No more nasty surprises." Vega activated the main screen, displaying a complex schematic of the cannon. "Let's dive in." The Rusty Bucket, their unlikely flagship, vibrated with renewed purpose as its crew embarked on a new mission. They were celebrated heroes of Xylo, but their greatest test lay ahead. A new legend. The Starfire, Earthcom's latest and most extravagant vessel, practically screamed wealth. Eva stood on the bridge, the captain's chair a custom fit, a sweeping panorama of Earth's azure and verdant swirls before her. Admiral Chen was beside her, a possessive hand on the chair's back. "Magnificent, eh, Captain Rostova?" His voice, amplified by the pristine surroundings, resonated with authority. "Cutting-edge everything. And yours, should you wish." Eva inhaled slowly, the sterile air a far cry from the Rusty Bucket's familiar, metallic tang. "It's considerable, Admiral." "Considerable?" "It's a sea change, Rostova. Resources, personnel, the very best. You earned it, spearheading the effort against the Xylo's incursion and the cannon." The last word carried a prickle of apprehension, as if its very utterance could summon the doomsday weapon. Eva turned to face him squarely. "What about my crew, Admiral? Would they be scattered? Cast to the winds?" Chen's smile wavered, a fleeting thing. "Naturally, some would assimilate into the existing structure. Others, well, openings abound in various sectors. Ample chances." A familiar protectiveness surged through Eva, a fierce loyalty to her motley family. Bolt, with his grease-smeared hands and unfailing optimism. Vega, whose taciturn demeanor concealed a mind of strategic brilliance. They weren't replaceable parts in Earthcom's vast machine, they were the heart of the Rusty Bucket. "With respect, Admiral," Eva replied, her tone resolute, "I appreciate the gesture, but I must decline." Chen's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Decline? Captain Rostova, this is unheard of. Such a command isn't for me. I'm a captain, Admiral, not a figurehead. I thrive on testing limits, pushing boundaries. And I do it with my crew, the people I trust implicitly, who trust me in turn. The Rusty Bucket is where I belong." Chen scrutinized her, his expression inscrutable, before finally sighing. "You're a tenacious woman, Rostova. But I commend your dedication. Very well. I'll apprise Earthcom of your choice." He moved toward the turbo lift, his posture rigid. "Don't believe you're free of obligations, though. will require your expertise. The cannon remains a preoccupation. The doors whispered shut. Eva exhaled, realizing she'd been holding her breath. Suddenly, the Starfire's polished bridge felt icily impersonal. Turning, she headed back to the docking bay, yearning for the rusty bucket's comforting vibrations underfoot. Back on the rusty bucket, the engine room throbbed with activity. Stripped to the waist, glistening with sweat and oil, Bolt wrestled with a rat's nest of wires and conduits. Sparks crackled as he muttered colorful oaths. "Everything holding together down there, Bolt?" Eva asked, stepping onto the gridded floor. Bolt glanced up, his face breaking into a wide grin. "Captain! Just the person I wanted. I'm practically there, so close." "Close to what?" Eva inquired, cautiously avoiding a heap of discarded plating. "The cannon. Remember? The Xylo's power matrix? I'm modifying it." Eva arched a brow. "Modifying it? How so?" "Taking away its capacity to destroy worlds. I'm rerouting the energy flow, calibrating the output. Instead of annihilation, think supercharged terraforming device. We can use it to breathe life into barren planets, kickstart failing ecosystems, even, maybe create new atmospheres." Eva stared, speechless. "Bolt, are you certain? That thing is ridiculously potent, dangerously unstable." "Was unstable, Captain. I've integrated layered safeguards, energy sinks, feedback mechanisms, the works. Trust me, this will be revolutionary. Instead of instilling fear, we can be healers. Resurrecting worlds ravaged by war or neglect." He wiped his forehead with a soiled rag, his eyes burning with zeal. A smile tugged at Eva's lips. Bolt's unwavering optimism was a potent contagion. "All right, Bolt," she conceded, "I trust your judgment. Just proceed with caution. And give me a warning before you point it at anything." Meanwhile, in the rusty bucket's cramped navigation room, Vega was bent over her console, her fingers dancing across the keys. Streams of code cascaded down the screen, interspersed with intricate star charts and sensor readings. Running on fumes and pure focus, she hadn't slept soundly in days. "Captain," she announced, her voice tight with excitement. "I believe I've found something." Eva entered, Bolt in tow, still scrubbing grease from his hands. "What is it, Vega?" "Remember the Xylo signatures we registered near the sentient asteroid?" Vega asked, her gaze unwavering. "I've been mining the data, referencing against all existing celestial maps. And I've unearthed a previously unknown sector." She tapped a key, and a holographic projection bloomed in the room's center, a constellation of stars and nebulae unlike any Eva had witnessed. Hues of vibrant emerald, sapphire, and fiery orange painted swirling tapestries. "This sector is veiled," Vega explained. "Protected by a naturally occurring distortion field. Almost impossible to detect unless you know precisely what to seek. And the Xylo's energy resonance, it's through the roof." Adrenaline surged through Eva. A hidden sector, brimming with Xylo's energy. A discovery capable of rewriting galactic history. And it was there, waiting. "What do you suspect is out there, Vega?" Eva asked, barely above a whisper. Vega shrugged, a rare display of uncertainty. "I don't know, Captain. But I have a strong premonition it's something exceptional." The following morning, the rusty bucket stood poised for departure. The crew bustled about, completing final checks. Bolt, still beaming, offered Eva a thumbs up from the engine room. Vega, her eyes bright with anticipation, performed a last diagnostic on the navigation systems. Stepping onto the bridge, Eva paused, glancing back toward Earth. The planet hung in the void, a fragile azure sphere. They had saved it, she and her team, against all odds. But their saga was far from over, it was merely beginning. She settled into the captain's chair, its worn fabric a comfort. "All right, folks," she said, her voice ringing with purpose. "Let's go carve a new legend." With a low growl and a shudder, the rusty bucket disengaged from the space station, pointing its nose toward the enigmatic. As they accelerated toward the distortion field, Eva felt a swell of hope. The universe was vast, teeming with undiscovered wonders. And she, Captain Eva Rostova, was prepared to explore it, one rusty bucket at a time. Word of their exploits had traveled the star lanes. Other independent vessels, inspired by the rusty bucket's boldness, began to venture forth, chasing fortunes and adventure. The galaxy was opening up, and the pioneering spirit was alive. Approaching the anomaly zone, Vega called out, entering distortion field in 3, 2, 1. The stars warped and blurred, familiar constellations dissolving into a kaleidoscopic maelstrom. For a fleeting moment, Eva experienced a surge of fear, a sense of utter disorientation. Then, as quickly as it began, the distortion dissipated, revealing a new vista. A breathtaking panorama of swirling nebulae, vibrant star clusters, and bizarre, alien worlds filled the view screen. A sight unseen by human eyes. Eva Rostova smiled. The rusty bucket had found its next frontier. The adventure was on.